What is going on, everybody? My name's Zero here. This is another video of us restoring an old MacBook. This is a 2010 polycarbonate MacBook. I've already showcased this polycarbonate MacBook generation almost a year ago, but that one was a late 2009 model year. And in my personal opinion, this 2010 model year is a lot better because it has the GeForce 320M graphics. Now, that is still completely obsolete by today's standards, but it is significantly better in my personal opinion compared to the 9400M graphics that the 2009 MacBook came with. If we flip this on its back, you can see this is all rubber right here. So this was intended for students, and I guess for the most part having rubber is a really good idea because if you're a student, you tend to be irresponsible when it comes to technology. So I guess that was a good touch from Apple, but at the same time, these were also known to physically come off. Essentially what happens over time is that the rubber comes loose. And this was a typical problem for this polycarbonate MacBook to the point where Apple decided to do a recall or a free replacement to whoever owned a polycarbonate plastic unibody MacBook because of this issue. As you can see, this is bare metal. Despite this being a full-on plastic polycarbonate MacBook, there are a lot of parts on this MacBook that is really sturdy. And matter of fact, this MacBook, specifically this polycarbonate, is a very solid feeling device. It does not feel like a plastic laptop like those Windows machines you find in the 2000s. Now, another common issue with these is that these hinges tend to crack. Well, the plastic near the hinges tend to crack. So if you look closely, you can see that one's already cracked and that one's already cracked. Now this one doesn't work, but this one right here is fully functional. And it does start up, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it on. Now, I believe, spoiler alert, this MacBook has a dying hard drive. So once in a while, it will take you to a safe mode version of macOS, which is weird. And as you can see, it's acting pretty weird. That took a while. So I don't know what's going on with this MacBook. I hope that isn't a logic board defect, but it definitely is acting a bit glitchy or just a bit weird for my liking. We're gonna go ahead and upgrade this 2010 polycarbonate MacBook with an SSD that I have here. This is a 120GB inland SSD, and I don't think they make these anymore. It looks a bit yellow, does it? If you look at the trackpad is glass, and so I guess that's definitely on the plastic now. I don't remember how I opened this before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No? How am I supposed to use this if I don't even remember the dang password? We could definitely see that we are running a skeuomorphic design macOS. So far, I have gone to the recovery menu right here, and it looks like this version of macOS is Mavericks. This is running even before Yosemite or El Capitan, which is definitely on the older side of things. We're gonna go ahead and erase this 250GB hard drive, and then just click erase. Could not mount or cannot unmount disk. Just erase it one more time and see if it actually doesn't. So it seems like we have some sort of issue with the disk right here. So why don't we check on the first aid, because it is acting a bit weird. Why would it go straight to safe mode if it doesn't have any issues? It seems like the partition is okay. We're gonna go ahead and shut this down. We'll just flip this on its back. And it's time to get it rolling with the disassembly on this MacBook. This is gonna be a fun process because I do remember this polycarbonate MacBook unibody tends to require a bit more work than your usual unibody MacBook because of its structural rigidity. And I have not opened this at all, so hoping this doesn't have any cockroaches or any bugs living inside here, because this has been in my house for a while and I do not wanna be greeted with a nest full of that, or even ants. I definitely hate ants. I absolutely hate ants. All right, here we go. Oh gosh, what is that? Hang on a minute. It's pretty hard to, oh, I hope I did not break it. Okay, great. That was a good amount of drop. That was a lot of force to be reckoned with. It is definitely dusty. It is not clean, but it doesn't seem to have any damage to the logic board, which is a good sign. We have no signs of liquid damage all around aside from, oh, that's dusty. Here's the Toshiba 250GB hard drive. We're gonna go ahead and do the shakedown. Yeah, it's a little bit It's a little bit noisy. Continuing on with our uninstallation of things, we're gonna go ahead and uninstall the battery, take out whatever it is that I need to in order to gain access to the logic board, so that way we can replace the thermal paste. Finally, we are replacing a thermal paste. So now that we have taken that out, we should be able to take out this bar right here that acts like a structural rigidity for the MacBook. It's time to take out some of these screws on the logic board. Quirks T5 screw. Take the fan out slowly, and you can already see there's a good amount of fur dust right there. And then take this out, take the battery out. That's probably the first thing we should have done. Take out the keyboard cable, pretty much. Oh, frick, I just broke that, did I? This is exactly what I was talking about, why you should be careful. I got too carried away and broke a cable. Of course, we have more cables right here that are as brittle as your grandma. That's why we have to be careful, because these are, oh my God, another one. You could see I just broke another one, did I? Yes, I did. I probably should have not been lazy and just decided to actually use a proper tool for this. There you go. 2 cables down. That's to be expected with these aging computers, and can't forget about that MagSafe cable at the bottom right there, which is weirdly placed. Okay, definitely dusty. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a good dust off. Where does this connect to? It might be the microphone. I have a feeling that might be a microphone cable. If that's the case, I'm not really too worried. I'm gonna go ahead and take out this. And yes, indeed, it is the microphone. Hey, look, on the bright side, we have better privacy now that we have completely yanked out this microphone. But also, on the bright side of things, I definitely have a replacement for this. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and do a complete dust off on this right now. I finished cleaning the logic board, the fan, as well as whatever it is on that chassis. So all we have to do is replace the thermal paste, which we are gonna do now. Let's see how bad the thermal paste situation is. Okay, that's not too shabby. No, that's original. Old thermal paste cleaned. Now we just have to put a new one. This is the graphics I was talking about, which is the NVIDIA 320M. This is surprisingly a lot better than what it came before. Therefore, we should have better graphics performance. Now, granted, we still have a dual core Core 2 Duo. Wiggle it around just a bit so it spreads, then screw it back together. Now I'm not going to screw it too hard just yet because we haven't put all the screws. All we have to do is put this logic board back into the MacBook itself. But for the meantime, what we need to do is find a replacement microphone. All right, well, good news. So I found out which cable I broke, and that is for the little light indicator. Now, that's not really something important. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back. It seems tedious taking this whole thing apart just for that. Okay, so I've put back everything into place. Of course, we do have to put back the MagSafe charger over here. So before we can even put on the logic board, I'm gonna go ahead and plug this SSD into its new home, just like that. We have a donor computer. This one has a good amount of liquid damage on it. I have learned my lesson, so we're gonna go ahead and take this out slowly with a plastic tool. Just go slice up with a screw, and just like that, off to the start. Hold MagSafe out. And just like that, we have our new replacement. Let's go ahead and put this shiny new microphone that we have and run it down to the grooves right here. I almost forgot, we do have to install the MagSafe right here, or else we won't have any MagSafe at all for this computer. Go ahead and screw this in place. Minimize as best as I can. This should be good. Okay, so ahead and the screws now. Connect the MagSafe connector wire back into the logic board, and after that, it's a reverse process and everything else. And just make sure you're not. Okay, sit rep. I don't think I'm able to flush in the cables right here properly. We'll just call it as is. I know it's gonna start. All right, great. So I think what we need to do now is we need to go to El Capitan. Well, I do know my password this time. I got some weird artifact in here. As you can see how slow that is really weird. Look at that. What the freak? We're going to copy El Capitan from this bootable drive to the inland SSD, so that way we can have an updated firmware. And from the internal hard drive, we're going to boot up El Capitan, and we're going to update it with High Sierra, which is the last officially supported version for this MacBook. It's going to be quite a bit of a tedious project because we have to do a on-the-air update with High Sierra. Well, sitrep, I am officially running on the actual SSD, but you could already see we have some weird things going on with this computer. The funniest part about this is that every time I open a tab and type something, everything is all in caps. You could clearly see the caps lock is not on. Now if I press on, it still is all in cap locks. So even if I try to shift an A, B, C, everything is all in caps. So I don't know what is really going on with this computer, and I'm hoping this is not a hardware level issue and it's just simply a firmware issue or operating system issue. Now I'm trying to download High Sierra right now, but for some reason this thing is just painfully slow. Well, we have some updates over here. We have successfully installed High Sierra. So what if we continue and see where this goes? Agree. So High Sierra requires us to restart the computer. And guess what's going on right now? It boots up and it shuts off. Well, would you look at that? We have even more problems along the way. Why don't we take off the hard drive and see if it fixes any issues right now that we are facing. Okay, it boots up. So I think we might have bricked our SSD here. I realize what's going on with this computer is that whoever owned this in the past was running Linux or some sort of Linux, whether it's Ubuntu or Linux Mint. The reason how I know that is because I bought 3 of these White MacBooks from the same owner. One of the MacBooks was running Linux Mint, and obviously the other one had liquid damage on it, and of course this one was running Mavericks. I believe there's some sort of numlock or whatever you call that when it comes to the firmware. I think what happened is that Linux somehow managed to tamper with the numlock feature on the keyboard, and thus we were having some weird all caps, number pad wasn't working. That was really driving me crazy. And so really the only way for me to fix this computer was to run Linux, and I am going to be running Linux. I'm using Etcher right here, Balena Etcher, and we are running 22.1 Mate, 64-bit, and then obviously we have our SSD, which is located right there. And all we have to do is just click flash, and this shouldn't take too long. Now in theory, this should boot up relatively quick. Just click enter. It's already detecting drivers for the Wi-Fi, which is great, so you could use Wi-Fi. We're going to go ahead and install Linux Mint first, and as you can see, all we have to do is just basically go through all the steps, and look at that, even the brightness is working on this computer. We're going to go ahead and log on to Linux Mint right here, and here you go. So this is my version of Linux Mint, specifically 22.1 Mate. And if you guys have not known, I am not familiar with Linux at all. The last time I've used Linux or anything Linux-based operating system was with a Dell Latitude a long time ago, probably around 2011, 2010, when my dad gave me my first laptop, which was an old Dell Optiplex running Ubuntu. Even then, I just preferred Windows at the time. I mean, Linux, you had to do a lot more work than usual when it comes to packages and installing things, because back in the day as well, there's not a lot of applications that supports Linux. And so you're gonna have to go around your ways. You don't have Microsoft Word, so you have this thing called LibreOffice. This is a test of the new MacBook Pro. But yes, as you can see, this was one of the alternatives. For the longest time, I've always tried to just evade it because of that sort of matter, but now it's 2025, it's completely different. In fact, they even have an app store. So if you go to the bottom left right here, which basically mimics the start button of Windows, which is pretty cool. We're gonna go ahead and go to the software manager right here. You could see this is essentially an app store for Linux. Isn't it the coolest thing ever? And of course, the trackpad's acting a bit wonky right now, but you could see we have a lot of applications we can install right here. Discord, Google Earth, Blender, surprisingly. We have a VirtualBox, we have FileZilla, all those well-known apps. To give you guys an example, click one of these apps and look, just click install and continue, and it will install for you automatically. Of course, we do have to put our password, but once that's fully installed, it will be available to you on the bottom left right here on the applications list. Pretty cool. I've never experienced Linux like that. And that's another cool thing, is that developers are just keep on working with these machines, and it really works well. I mean, this is a lot better than I expected it to be. My insight of Linux back 10 years ago or over a decade ago is completely different from what it is now. It comes with Firefox as the standard instead of Edge or Google Chrome, which is very interesting. So if you go ahead and go to YouTube right now, the thing with Linux, all my life, all I know is that these are great for older machines. And there's no denying about that. Even right now with this 2010 MacBook right here, it runs perfectly fine. Personally, I don't think it's unusable or unbearable when it comes to using the web with this computer. These operating systems can definitely give these older MacBooks a second chance of life. And if you go ahead and go to my YouTube channel right here and watch a video, this specific polycarbonate MacBook right here has 4 gigabytes of RAM. I had to downgrade this to 4 gigabytes of RAM because I do not have any compatible 8 gigabytes of memory for this specific MacBook. Now granted, you could possibly upgrade this to 16 gigabytes of RAM. I've done that before with my previous white polycarbonate MacBooks. You can only do that with the 2010 model year of polycarbonate MacBooks. Watching YouTube is not a problem. Now we are running 480 right here, and we can go up to the big 1080p. We have a little bit of hiccups here and there. That's to be expected on a 2010 machine. Imagine, in 2010, using a computer from 2000. It's not going to be usable. To think that technology has gradually increased over time, definitely that 64-bit Core 2 Duo really helps a lot. That 64-bit architecture really is still relevant even today. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a cheap mouse right here because I cannot bear that freaking trackpad. It's just horrendous. Okay, so Minecraft is now running horrendously. Oh my goodness, this is not playable. This might have to do with graphics. So, sometimes we just have to let the world load up just a bit, and yep, that's getting a lot better now. We all know Minecraft is a very CPU intensive video game, so to think that it is really laggy right now while it's loading the biome, it's totally understandable. You can see now we're hovering around probably 25-30 frames per second. The best song of Minecraft. Oh my goodness. You gotta hit me with that. This is what, 2012 era? You know what, let's play some Minecraft. I think that would be quite enjoyable. There you go, it's getting playable now. Yep, that's perfectly usable. A little bit of a slowdown here and there. I think that also has to do with my limited RAM access. Oak wood right here, make a crafting table. Don't judge, my sister uses this Minecraft account a lot, so that skin is not what I normally would put on. Let's make a sword. And it seems like everything seems to be working on this computer. The keyboard is now working fine. At first it was acting pretty weird, but look at this. we can dig out this, what is this called? Mossy cobblestone. Very interesting. I've never seen that type of block before. You can see now I'm actually playing Minecraft fully. You can see how efficient this Linux Mint is. As you can see, we're only using about 800 megabytes total, and that's idling. Compare that to Mac OS, which would probably hover around double that or quadruple that 800 megabytes. Honestly amazing. You can see the specs right here. We have a Intel Core 2 Duo, 8600, 2.4 gigahertz. I think that's gonna do it for this video. I do believe this MacBook is plenty usable, whether you use Mac OS, whether you use Linux or Windows. This Core 2 Duos just refuses to die, and that is absolutely a beauty of its own. I mean, imagine this computer is from 2010, and the Core 2 Duo even back then was already getting to that point where it's being replaced by the i-series chip. And so the fact that it's still kicking butt right now in 2025 is absolutely impressive. And of course, on top of that, the design of this MacBook in general, this specific MacBook, this polycarbonate MacBook, is really one of my favorites from Apple. I mean, sure, it might get dirty pretty easily, as you can see here. I'm sure you guys would not regret it. It is really a cool thing to mess around with. Use Linux, use whatever you want. You know, to think that starting this project with this MacBook, I thought it was an absolute pain in the butt dealing with firmware issues and unable to use the number keys or whatnot. Everything was in caps, but look at that. Everything sorted by itself automatically, thanks to Linux Mint. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.